Liz, unmute for just a minute, because as people are filing into the room, I always like to have a question that has nothing to do with the content. Liz, you didn't disappear. Oh, there you go. You did disappear, but you didn't go away for good. So welcome. So Liz, actually, you asked a question when we were in the green room back there about any plans for the fall. So we're going to go with a fall theme. Fall theme. What's the best color in the fall?
Purple.
Purple. Well,
and I like orange.
Oh, so you're all in. So let's see the nails again. So you got some what's on the nails?
Little Halloween pumpkins and
I got you.
spider webs.
All in for the season. All right. So purple it is. All right. Well, great. Well, thank you for being here. Let me run through my housekeeping and my intro, and then we will turn it over to Liz. So good afternoon and welcome to Insightful Accountants QB Talks. My name is Gary D. Hart, and I'm the publisher of Insightful Accountant and host of today's webinar. And we certainly appreciate you taking some time today as we explore some exciting updates on QuickBooks Online with our speaker, Liz Scott. I'll have her introduce herself after I cover the housekeeping items, which are CPE is being offered for this session. As you know, you have to be here 50 minutes, 50 minutes, and you must answer at least 3 of the poll questions. We have 4 total, so answer at least 3. And then if you have any questions, we ask you to enter them in the Q&A panel and be specific when you ask those questions. Don't say, what did you mean, Liz? What you would say, Liz, what do you mean you like purple? Be real specific because you may not answer the question when you ask it. The recording of the session will be posted to our YouTube channel. We will drop a link to that YouTube channel into the chat, as well as a copy of the slide deck. We'll drop that into the chat as well. And then we'll send you the link to the YouTube channel and a copy of the slide deck in the follow-up email, which will go out typically within about 24 hours. And if you are looking for CPE, it usually takes us 24 to 48 hours to send those out. Make sure you spend 50 minutes and answer the 3 poll questions. And lastly, before I turn it over to Liz, I do want to say thank you to our sponsor. Liz, if you can go ahead and advance that slide, that'd be great. And then on to the next one. There we go. So AvidXchange provides a seamless integration with all QuickBooks editions for AP and payment automation. This allows companies to incorporate an easier, faster, and more secure way to process invoices and make payments. We do have a poll question for you, and this is around AvidXchange, and we're going to get that launched. And basically, the question is, would you like to hear from AvidXchange? 3 possible answers. Yes, I would love to schedule a demo for a $50 MasterCard e-gift card. Please just send me some more information. Not right now. I'm just here to learn. We'll leave that open for about 15 more seconds, just so we can get everyone who wants to participate in that. And again, as a reminder, got to answer at least 3 of the 4 polling questions, and this would be polling question number 1. All right, we're going to wrap this up in about 3, 2, and 1, and then we'll turn it over to Liz. Liz, it is all yours.
Fantastic. I am excited to be here. For all of you that I know, hello again. My name is Liz Scott, and I am a consultant in the technology area. So a lot of what I get to do is play with apps. I get to spend a lot of time digesting how do they work, how are they supposed to work, and then creating training. So it's a pretty cool gig. I am honored to be able to provide a lot of training even inside of the Insightful Accountant Monday Minutes. So if you follow along with those are all about QuickBooks updates. And my goal is to keep you in the know, so that way you're ahead of what your clients see coming. And that is part of what we're going to be doing today as well. So lots of goodies have been rolled out over the last quarter. And what we're going to be covering today is some of those. So the QuickBooks Bill Pay. If you've been waiting for this feature like me, you are stoked that it's here. I'm going to actually take you through a live account and we're going to see what it looks like. That account is not completely set up yet, so we're going to get to do some of that together, which is going to be really fun because it'll give you some insights as to what does it look like to set that account up, and then what will it look like for your client. The other thing we're going to do is the Intuit Assist. this is so new that it's actually not rolled out live everywhere yet. So we're going to be doing some slides to go through that. The new invoicing, oh my gosh, that one's super groovy too. So I'm going to be taking you through what that new invoice experience looks like. You know, in the beginning, I wasn't really sure about it, but what I'm going to share with you are my favorite pieces of it and why I did actually go ahead and turn a corner and get really jazzed about it. The new QuickBooks Money app, this is all about people who are using QuickBooks Checking. Now you have an app to go along with QuickBooks Checking. And then QuickBooks Time has been integrated with QuickBooks Online for years. You know, first it was T-Sheets and then it was QuickBooks Time. And now it's actually inside of QuickBooks Online itself. So you don't actually have to launch it to open up a separate URL. That browser just stays constant and you stay inside of QuickBooks. So I'm going to show you that experience live as well. So lots of good things. I'm going to go ahead and look at our Q&A. And so Marty, thank you for going ahead and asking a question, because most of you know that I do enjoy asking questions. This is a live webinar. So if you've got live questions, you know, I'm happy to answer those. So Marty, you're saying that the bill pay feature was not available to wholesale billing clients until after January 2024. You know, this is going to be one of those features that as it's rolled out in phases, just like a lot of the brand new functionality. So if you don't see it yet, yes, there is a timeline. And so Marty, thank you for sharing that timeline. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move on over into our brand new bill pay. So I'm going to start here in some slides. I'm going to take you through some of these basics because I want you to be familiar with some of these screens. So while inside of QuickBooks Online, we know that over in our expense center is where our bills exist. What you now have is a brand new area that's a hyperlink into that area that's going to be all about bill pay. So if you're somebody who has used Bill.com Lite in the past, because I was an earlier adopter of that, I was happy to be able to pay my bills and actually see inside of QuickBooks what the life cycle was of that bill. If you're somebody who has used Melio, same thing. You've got all of these brand new bill pay options that have been released to us throughout the last 5 years or so. But what we now have is it's a bill pay that has been released by QuickBooks. So you don't have to subscribe to another app. It is inside. And yes, Mary, I will talk about the cost because there are 3 different costs. It depends on which subscription level you are going to subscribe to. And when we're thinking about the cost, here it is right here. So bill pay basic is $0. What that means is you get free 5 ACH a month. For most of us, that's enough. I'm going to say somebody like myself, I'm going to be doing very few transactions that are going to be bill pay within my own firm. So I'm going to probably always stay in that $0 subscription. If you've got a client and they have around 40 or less, you know, somewhere around that, then I'm going to say the $15 plan would probably be more appropriate for them. They're going to, you know, not have any fee associated with the ACH. But with any of these subscription levels, a check is going to cost $1.50. It doesn't matter which subscription you have subscribed to. The check is a printing thing, it's a mailing thing, and so there is a cost that's associated with every single one of those checks. Bill Pay Elite, you know, I'm going to say there is a great big jump from going from the Bill Pay Basic at $0 to the Bill Pay Elite. And Elite, what I want to really highlight here is if you are somebody who is working with a client that has multiple different team members, they need to have approvals. There's different sets of eyes at different dollar levels. That's where Elite is going to come into play. You've got user permissions and roles, plus you also have the workflow. So we're going to look at some of that as well. So you can see how does Bill Pay Elite work with the QuickBooks Online workflow and then also with the roles and user permissions. Lisa, you're asking a really good question. Will your clients using Melio have to do anything to switch over? So my answer to you is what I've been told is taking place on the back end. If you are somebody who is using Melio, that is going to be disconnected, and then you're going to have the option to subscribe to QuickBooks Bill Pay. If you want to stay with Melio, my clients who are connected with Melio, I have not seen a disconnect. So they are still continuing to use Melio as normal. But I have been told at some point that connection in the background will be disconnected. And I'm not sure exactly the details about that, Lisa. Okay, so I'm going to keep on moving forward. Angie, you asked about Canada. I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to whether or not this is live in Canada. And then Caleb, you asked about Bill Pay Elite with Simple Start. Great question. So I'm going to go ahead and answer that in a minute. I'm not going to start that answer just yet because I want to move over and I'll actually show you what it looks like. All right, so bill pay methods. Right now, what we have is check and ACH. There are other payment methods coming, but right now this takes care of the majority of people. And I'm going to say predominantly most people are doing ACH. So creating a bill, I'm going to stop here and I'm actually going to go ahead and go live. So that way you should be able to see my QuickBooks screen. Hopefully everybody's got that. And where I'm going to go is I'm going to go inside of my expense center and I'm going to look at unpaid bills that are sitting here. So anytime that you are coming over into your bill center, you can actually upload a bill, you can have bills for review, but here's where you would start if you had already entered a bill, and then you would be able to open that bill and say, let's schedule a payment. And then up this screen pops that tells you, how would you actually like to pay this bill? So I've got a bill that's for $5 and I'm going to choose my bank account. But here's the part that I was telling you, this account's not fully set up. The only thing that I did before today for this demo is I went in and I added a bank account. I went ahead and had that bank account tested so that way it was verified for today. But in QuickBooks, I don't actually have an account yet created. So if I wanted to create my bank account and I wanted to put any details here, I certainly could. And so what this means is my drafting account is going to be this account ending in these 4 digits. And then my bookkeeping, so the posting to the general ledger is going to take place to this account that I just indicated. Really, this is it. So we're first deciding where is the money coming from. And then the second action is going to be where do we want those dollars to be sent to? So you're going to see that I've got my pay to, I could put an email address in here. I could put all of the different information for this particular bill to this vendor, and I could enter all of those details. If I wanted to have a paper check, same thing. I could put in all of the details for this transaction, and you can see when will the dollars be withdrawn, what is the estimated delivery date, and I can even see what my processing fee is going to be. So the processing fee for checks is always going to be the same. But if I come over here and I look at my ACH, here's what I do want to highlight. Even though I'm in a basic account and I get 5 free, this screen is a little misleading. It doesn't know that I'm under my 5. So it goes ahead and tells me, wait, you've got a processing fee. As soon as you go ahead and process this one ACH, that processing fee is actually removed because I'm under the 5. So I could put in all of my details here. I'm going to go ahead and back up for a second because I'm going to say there's multiple different ways in order to get your bills inside of QuickBooks. So here's where some of the different subscriptions come into play. If I come over into my for review, one of the things I can see is that a bill has already been uploaded for me. So I could come over here and it could have been a different team member who imported that bill, or it could be somebody like myself who I received something from email and I want to upload that directly from my computer. I could come over here and grab that invoice and I can see that it's going to be processed. It's right here. It's thinking about that bill. But in the meantime, I've got another bill that is ready for review. So I can do my normal steps of going through and looking at the review. Here's where, if you were in Elite, and it doesn't matter, so to answer your question, Caleb, it doesn't matter which subscription level that you're in. What you're going to be able to do is, if you have Bill Pay Elite, you could have roles and permissions. So it could be a particular team member that is assigned to be able to upload those bills and then do exactly what we're doing in this screen, which is the review. And then it could be another team member that this is passed to for when it comes to approving that bill. And then even a third or a fourth team member, depending on where you put the permissions at payment levels. So it could be, you think if there's a bill that's over $1,000, then it needs to go to a different team member for routing for the payment. So ultimately, you can have quite a few different team members and different roles if you are using Bill Pay Elite. It is independent of your subscription level. So that answers your question, Caleb. It doesn't matter which subscription you have. If you are using Elite Bill Pay, you are going to have the options to have workflows and user permissions. So I could come over here and I could add in a new payee. And this is another thing that I want to say is part of Bill Pay. So say that I wanted to pick one of these vendors that is part of the business network. I could actually send off this request to the business network. And if there were payment details that were already provided, then it's going to be a faster connection in order to be able to pay them by ACH. A lot of you are already familiar with this type of practice in Bill Pay. It's now that QuickBooks has that option as well. So if you want to connect with somebody who is in the business network, then you would be able to send this over to them. They'd be able to approve that connection, and you would automatically see their address. You would see contact information. You'd be even able to know some information for payments. So lots of goodies that are there. And then that bill would then be ready for making payment. I'm going to go ahead and add this new vendor. And I'm going to go ahead and save him. He is not in the business network at this time. I could make it billable to a customer if I wanted to. And then I can always put in here, what is it that is the account. I can come over to expenses. Let's just put this under advertising, and let's just call it and we can go ahead and save and close. So that bill has now moved over from our for review to our unpaid status. So we could go ahead and do the same thing as before. We could start the process of paying this bill. We could move over into the schedule of payments. We could see our bank account here. For this particular vendor, we would need to have all of the ACH and the routing information in order for that to go through. But let's go ahead and just put in here a bogus address, and let's gonna say and then we could even put in here, thank you. Next, we can email this vendor so that way they know for sure what is going to be the expected date of the payment. So off that would be sent. We'd be able to see where is the dollars going to be going to, what's our processing fee, and then we can actually put any more notes that we wanted to. This is particular vendor, and then we can schedule this payment. So 3 steps: who are we delivering it to, and what bank account, and then we're able to see that that payment is now scheduled. So we've got our bill that's now in the paid status. Where we've got this new hyperlink in order to be able to view all of these bill payments is not only here, but if we wanted to see more details about bill payments that have been paid with the brand new QuickBooks Bill Pay, then I would be able to go over here and say, show me all of these. If I had a bunch of bill payments, I could actually come over here and I could start to filter them. You know, what vendor am I looking for? What dates am I looking for? What was the dollar amount? So there's lots of ways to be able to search all of these different bill payments. The other thing that you can see here too is I've got my bill pay ID. I know my bill number, and then I can also see what is the schedule for that bill payment. When I come back over into looking at all of my bills and my bill payments, one of the things that I want to call out is if you are coming over here to this pay bills section that we have been really accustomed to and familiar, you are not going to see at this time where you can go in and you can save and schedule bills. I just want to call that out. I think that this is something that's coming to us, but for right now, whenever it comes to bill payment, you are going to need to be over in our expenses center inside of that bills tab. And then if you want to manage any of these bills, you can move over and you can see all of the various bills that have been scheduled, and you can even take action. Before I talk about the action you can take, I'm going to go ahead and look at some of the questions that we've got because there's 9 of them. So do attachments get mailed along? I have not seen attachments, Caleb. I think that that's why there's a really robust area for notes. So that would be my answer there. Do you have to select the payment account in QuickBooks Online on each transaction? Yes. So it's kind of like anytime that we're working inside of QuickBooks, it gets sticky. So it will be familiar with the bank account selected. It was just, I haven't set that account up fully. So that was my experience today. Karen, hello. Let's see. So do we have to get the details from the vendor before sending the payment if we want ACH? Yes. So you do want to have the ACH details in order to be able to enter those into QuickBooks. I don't know if there's something coming kind of like with when we want our clients to pay our invoices, if there's going to be like a portal where they can enter in those details, but I think that's really good feedback. Is there any suggestion of duties on releasing payments? Well, Joy, I think this is a question that my big answer is yes. Always have some protocol in place. And that's why there's a workflow. And I'm going to show you that workflow here in a second, what it looks like for being able to manage bills. But I think the best practice is always to have 2 people in play. You know, more if you've got a larger department that is in part of the AP process. But, you know, if you're a firm and you're entering in the bills and then you want somebody at the actual company, your client company, to pay those bills, that would be a scenario where there's 2 people that are interacting with bill pay. If you're working with a client that they're uploading their own bills, but they want to have somebody else come over and pay the bills, that would be a 2-person workflow. And I would encourage that because it's really best practices to have 2 different people in charge of entering the bills. So that way you don't have what many of us have unfortunately seen is that you have sometimes people who are creating bogus bills and then paying those. And it looks like it's legit, but it's not. So that's why I think it's the best practice to have 2 people in play. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move over to look at some of these other details, and I'm going to come back to these questions if I can, but there's a lot of questions here, so I'm going to keep on moving. But Joy, you just asked a question, and it's all about can you pay more than 1 bill at a time? And my answer to you is not at this time. That is something that I believe is on the roadmap. International payments, I believe, is also something that's on the roadmap. Okay, so what if I wanted to cancel this payment? You know, I'm here testing with you today. I don't really actually want to send this money. So what I can do is I can say on this scheduled, so this is really my confirmation, I could come over here and say, I just want to cancel it. Boom, it's done. So I've got my cancellation notification, and that is now going to be right back into my unpaid. So there it pops back up. All right, so you can see right now that the subscription level that I am in is actually essentials. So if you're curious what I believe that is the truth, let me make sure. Look at me, I went to the wrong place. So subscription and billing. And so I'm in plus. So it really doesn't matter what the subscription level is. This is a separate subscription. And if I wanted to upgrade, so I could show you the elite plan, I can go ahead and pick it. I can say change my plan. And now I'm going to have all of the functionality of Bill Pay Elite. And this is where we now have workflows. So I didn't have this before, but now you can see workflows has been added. And if you're somebody who is familiar with workflows, because you are a QuickBooks Online advanced user, this is going to feel very familiar to you. So if you need to have workflow for bill pay, you do not need to have QuickBooks Online advanced in order to be able to have the users and the permissions associated with bill pay. So I could actually come over here and in my workflows, now I could say, I want a multi-conditional workflow. I could come in here and I could start to edit it. I could say a bill amount between the dollars of, this is a default. So I just set this up and these are here. What if I wanted this to be, whatever set number? I certainly could do that. So let's just say, let's make it $10,000. Now I've saved that condition. So I want to request that an approver come over here and they're going to get a notification. So automatically there's going to be an email that's going to be sent off. If you were using notifications and tasks, then you could actually have a notification sent there too. So what happens whenever there is a bill that's between this dollar amount that I just indicated is now $10,001 and $50,000. Now I want there to be an approval for in this range sent over to, if I had another person, I would pull them in right here. I could say, here's that other person that I want to be able to approve bills that are in between this 10,000 and 50,000. And then if I wanted to say, but any bills that are over that 151,000 and between 100,000, then I want that to go to another person. Again, it's just me. And then we could actually say, what do we want them to be able to do? We want them to be able to approve. So here you go. So we could save and enable, and now we've got a workflow, and that would be part of my workflow. I could slide it on, I could slide it off right here. But I do want to just call this out that I am inside of Plus, which does not have workflows, but because I subscribed to the Elite version, I just got workflows added. Same thing with users. So typically I would have my normal user types, but because I just said that I'm going to be in bill pay, I now have 3 new types of users. I would not have had that in normal plus subscription. So I can see here's my bill approval. What all do they have access to? What are they able to see? I could send an invitation over to that person. I also have a bill clerk. So the bill clerk is going to be somebody who uploads the bill like I did earlier. It depends on how you want them to be able to upload a bill. I will add this in that if you are in QuickBooks Online Advanced, another option for importing a bill is through Google. So that's another option. And then there is a bill payer. So you can see everything that these bill payers would have access to. I really like this view because so you can see that they could view, create, edit, delete. And then, of course, there is always going to be an admin. So an admin inside of the bill user roles is a requirement. And somebody like myself, because I'm setting this up, I automatically defaulted to the admin because I'm the only user inside this particular QuickBooks file. So a lot there that I think is super, super cool. I'm going to come over here and look at some of the questions. How many of those 104 characters So I think that the characters, Christina, you were asking a question. I think that that's going to be part of what's emailed over to your client. That's why the email notification was required. I'm going to go ahead and go back to slides for a second because I want to make sure that you know you have everything that I just demoed right here in slides. So if you want to be able to see it, you want to be able to walk through this, maybe even share it with clients, make sure that they understand how to use this brand new bill pay, including that business network, that they're familiar with it. Because if I was inside of business network, what would populate inside of the bills center for my client is that bill. And so it would be there already for them to pay. I wouldn't have to just email it over and hope that they imported it and got it paid. It actually is visible inside of their bill pay screen. So that's super cool. Again, here's our confirmation. And then I do want to go ahead and launch our first poll, which is, or second poll. So have you explored the new QuickBooks Bill Pay before today? Thank you for getting that poll launched behind the scenes. While that polling question is up, and remember, this is for anybody who needs CPE, make sure to answer those polls. Plus, it's just always kind of good to know. Dollar limit for transactions in bill pay. Leslie, I have not seen the dollar limit. I would imagine that there may be some credit worthiness there, but you are connecting your bank account. So those dollars would be drafted from that bank account. Can you change the names from bill clerks to partners? Leslie, I don't know if I could actually change those names. It might be nice to be able to go and test that and try it. So, you know, if we've got time here, I might go ahead and do that. All right, I'm going to count us down on this poll. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Thank you. All right. Here's a little bit more about the subscriptions. If you are somebody who is using QuickBooks Online Advanced, you already have custom roles, you've already got workflow automation, so you're familiar with those features. If you're somebody who does not have that, because maybe you're using one of the other subscriptions, like I was today, I was using Plus, but I had Bill Pay Elite, so I was able to have my roles and permission plus the workflows. So that was part of what we were able to do because we subscribed to the Bill Pay Elite. So if you're somebody who's already using advanced, you're very familiar, you do get some additional functionality if you're inside of that advanced subscription. So this just kind of plays on what size, how many team members, what kind of access does everybody have and need to have. Here's those workflows that we had talked about. I like this little cheat sheet right here. I think that this is nice for being able to share with the client. Here's what you can and can't do. Here's the admin user that I was talking about. They can do everything. I was the admin because I'm the one who set it up by default. That became me. And then the various different roles for the bill pay. Here is a tip. So if you're not sure which type of bill pay you are using, there is a way to be able to be clued in. So when you go to schedule a bill, at the bottom of your screen, there is a ribbon. And if that ribbon says, at the top, it says Melio, JP Morgan, you're still in Melio. If yours says bill pay, then you know that you're still in that bill pay. If yours says nothing, then you know that you're in QuickBooks Bill Pay. So that's just kind of a nice to know. Okay, so you may or may not have heard about Intuit Assist. This is pretty new, and I'm not going to be able to demo it for you because it is so new. But what they're doing is they're pulling in AI just like everybody else, and like, how can we actually use it? If you're somebody who's been around for a while and you remember whenever Intuit came up with a chatbot before, this is kind of like that, except for they really spent some more time in order to really make it diverse and how you can use it. So one of the things that you can do is you can actually come in and you can have your app, you can ask questions, you can, in this case, they're talking about what are the top 5 products that have sold in a particular month, and all of that's going to be listed. You can continue to use the prompts that are going to be given to you. So the AI Assist is going to ask you, do you want to know more information? Here's maybe what you might want to ask. And then you could even dive deeper into that same response to get even further into, maybe what were the customers that purchased those top products. What's the inventory count that you have left for those top products? Those are the kinds of things that you could actually ask the Intuit Assist to be able to help you. The other thing that you could do is you could have some cash flow predictions. So it could help you with when might you have a cash flow dip coming up. So you would have a chance to make some changes, maybe move some bill pay around, or maybe get another client, maybe do some additional work, whatever is needed. So here's some things that you can do with it. The other thing that, you can do is ask about, this is more about the cash flow dips. You can send some invoices, so it'll actually help you with doing AR reminders. Here's some tones of voice. So if you wanted to send over a very unique message to your client, and you wanted to say, hey, you haven't paid us yet, we want to make sure that we can continue doing services for you. You could actually put something in, like what I've done with the Intuit Assist is, bullets. Like, here's what I want to say, go and make it more friendly. And it'll actually expand on everything that was added in. I'm going to go ahead and say this is our time for our third poll. So have you interacted with the Intuit Assist for QuickBooks Online? Has that been something that you've seen? Is that something that you've had a chance to play with? And Lisa, you were asking about the bill pay. What's the cost of pro advisors? And for right now, I don't see that there's going to be anything different than that bill pay basic, which is the $5, and it's free. So it's 50 cents per transaction after the $5, but I don't know if there's going to be something else that's going to be released. Okay. All right. I'm going to count us down. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Thank you. All right, so new invoicing. All right, this is the one that I have to be honest, whenever I first saw it, I was like, not a fan. But then I had to dig around and I had to look at it and I had to pick apart what were the parts that I really liked. And there's a couple of really cool goodies in here. So again, I'm going to go ahead and take you over into a live subscription so that way you can see what I am seeing. Give me just a second to pull that company up. And that way you are able to see some details with me. All right, so here we are inside of a test environment, and here's the stuff that I like. I like it that I can actually edit my company from the face of the invoice, and I like it that I can actually edit a customer from the face of the invoice. So for example, say that I had a typo. Maybe I don't, this is once upon a time, I had used this test client inside of Scaling New Heights. Well, now I want to change the name. So I could actually come over, change that name, and that's not going to just update the invoice customer name on this invoice, but it'll actually impact the customer card inside of your customer center. So I really do like that. Over here, I can customize what's visible to me. So if I wanted to manage what's being seen on the screen here, I can come over and I can customize. Why I like this is before I felt like whenever I was editing a template that I would need to play around with the template and then go look and see what it looks like. Here, I've got everything in the same place, and I do like that. So in this case, I'm not going to ship anything. I do want my invoice number and date and due date. Terms, you may or may want that. Service date. If you're somebody like me, I never fill out the service date. So no, I don't want that visible on my screen. So I can take that off. If I wanted to go into custom fields, that is going to take me out of editing this particular invoice. So I'm going to leave that alone, but you can manage your custom fields too. I'm going to close it. I'm going to come over here to payments. One of the things that you're going to see that's new is PayPal and Venmo. We know that this has been coming for a while. Here it is. So now you can actually enable PayPal and Venmo, and you could turn this on or off for your clients. So we have our traditional types of payment methods, but now we've also got a PayPal and Venmo option. Tips, if you were somebody, this is kind of cool. If you're somebody who, I have several clients that are in the handyman industry. They get tips all the time. They have to go in and manage an invoice in order to add a tip. But if you were to put that on the face of the invoice, you would be able to have some type of control as to what that looks like. And then do you want that to be an income or a liability account? So yes, I do really like that. More options down here. So invoice total, I can't see why you wouldn't want this on here. So I'm always going to leave it on there. Deposits, I'm going to show you that one here in a second. The discounts, I think the discounts is pretty groovy. So I can actually put in here that I want it to be a dollar amount. So I want to give them a $5 discount. And that actually populates. I can go in and I can manage my discount. I can manage my chart of accounts discount by going over to the chart of accounts. But if I wanted to say, let's take a deposit, this adds, you can see right here, a new line to my invoice. And what that deposit allows you to do is to say, how much is that deposit amount? What's the method? But here's the most important part. Where do you want it to be allocated? So do you want it to go into a prepayment? Do you want it to be considered income at the time? But you get some controls over where that deposit is going to be recorded. Design, very simple. I'm not going to really go into too much of this other than, you can change your colors to match your logos, whatever. Your hyperlinks. Automation, this is another one that I think is cool. So if your clients aren't paying on time, if you know that this is going to be a client who's just behind, go ahead and say, let's make sure to send them a reminder days before the invoice is actually due. And, you could put on the due date, go ahead and send them another reminder after the due date. All of these will apply until they make a payment. So those are really nice to be able to just set it up. And then, even I get behind on reading emails. And so those reminders are good for even me too. I never get annoyed with them. I honestly just find it as being something that's helpful. Here is going to be some reports that you can actually see all of the invoices, all of the transactions, all open invoices, and then all transactions. So that's what I like about this functionality. I think that, if you want to switch back to the old layout, there is the option. That option is going to be available for a while. I don't think it's going to be here forever. I don't want to say any of that. Anyway, so I can actually switch back to that old view if I wanted to. And so here it is. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my QuickBooks for a second. I'm going to go back over to slides, and I'm going to just show you that you've got everything here that I just walked through. So you've got all of that and able to see it. I'm going to move over into the QuickBooks Money app. This is for those of you who are either yourself or your clients have subscribed to QuickBooks Checking. So this is different than the payments app. This is actually the checking account app. So you're able to do some basic things on that app, like invoicing. You can do some quick requests. So if you needed dollars sent over quickly, those kinds of requests would be something that you could make inside of that app. So it's got some basic cash flow forecasting that's in there. If you're curious about the processing fees, here those are, they're broken out for you. The deposit times are going to vary based on what you've got set up. Most of the deposits though are going to be instant because you're using the QuickBooks checking, but not all. So I would definitely look at your QuickBooks checking and see what your deposit times are there. Okay, I'm going to move over into another area that I get to go live in, and that is the QuickBooks Time. So maybe you've already seen this. Groovy if you have. If you haven't, I want to show you because it, to me, is something that I find exciting. Let's see. I'm going to open up my QuickBooks file. So another demo account that we've got here, and I'm going to launch Time. So previously, when I came over into QuickBooks Time, I actually would have to launch it. It would open a new URL, and that's where I would do my work whenever it came in regards to time. And now I've got a very similar styling of tabs that we see in payroll. So here's my overview. I've got tasks that are ready to be completed. So I could add in customers. This is cool because you can say which customers do you want to actually allocate time to. So when it comes to the app, all of your QuickBooks Time users are still going to use the same app, but there is a list of customers to choose from. If you want to manage that, you can. So that's now inside of QuickBooks. It's easier to do. If you wanted to invite team members, here's where you could do that. So I'm going to go ahead and move through some of these other tabs. Time entries. Here's all of my time entries that are already inside of QuickBooks. I could look to see my date range. Maybe I want to just look at, maybe I want to approve some time. So I could come over here and I could look at who has time for last week. And I could go in and I could view that or edit it. If I wanted to go in and approve it, I could look at each one of those time groupings, and I could change it, and I could make some edits to it, or I can just say, let's approve it, done. If I wanted to make any edits to Dan's time, maybe he didn't actually work on the family room, and I want to change it. I could actually change my customer here, and I could pick a different customer. Maybe this is what he did, and so I could update it. I could even change, the amount of time that he worked. So all of these are now available for you to review inside of QuickBooks and approve. I can actually see my time for the entire team, and here is your schedule. So at this time, I'm not able to actually do any actions. I'm not able to make any edits to this calendar. So I think this is something that's coming soon. Maybe if you're using QuickBooks Time and you're able to schedule inside of QuickBooks, put that over inside of our Q&A, because I have not been able to get that to work just yet. Assignments. This is also another really cool thing. So here's all of my different customers that I said I wanted to be able to have visible. But what if I wanted to come over here and edit who this customer was assigned to? Now I can actually say, I only want it to be for crew A. What if I couldn't remember who all is in crew A? I can see a drop down right here. So now I can go back and I can say, this particular customer is only going to be visible to both of these two different team members, Elizabeth and Leslie. So they're the only ones who are going to be able to allocate time to that customer. So you could go through and you could do that for all of the various different customers that you had enabled to be as part of this list. Time off, you can see those requests now inside of QuickBooks. Your time off reports. This is also very cool. So if I wanted to come over into payroll and I wanted to see a particular date range, Maybe I want to see all of the month of October, then I could run a report. I could look at what kind of hours did they work, where were they at. These are all things that were visible inside of QuickBooks Time, but now we've got inside of our QuickBooks Online, and it's not a separate browser experience. If you're somebody who uses these, you've still got your download to Excel or PDF. So these are all functionalities that are still visible. It's just, in my opinion, it's handier. It's just way more accessible. So I can see all of these details that are here. I could, I could even see, I don't know if you saw that, the report generated by. So if you needed to export these and have somebody approve these, maybe you are running payroll and you want to have a manager sign off on this. A team member inside your firm, you or yourself could send this over and then have an internal team member make the approvals. Itemized time, same thing. You could come over here and you could look at timesheets. You could download those timesheets and you can determine how do you want those visible. One of the things that I've done in the past is if I'm working with a client who has billable time, I go and I look at what time has not been set as billable. So I might look at a date range. This is a demo, so we may have to back up some of this time for a while. But I could actually go and see who has not allocated time to a job. And I could go and I could look at that to see of those hours, what's not been billed. So I could go in and make some edits to that time. I'm going to move back over into questions because I see several more that have popped up, and I want to make sure that I'm helpful. So Patty, you're asking, is the QuickBooks Time Pro website going away? No, I do not think that it's going away. In fact, if I'm over here and I wanted to launch the classic view, here it is. So I could actually go over into my classic view of QuickBooks Time and I could see it here. So everything is still visible. It's still going to function as before. I haven't heard of any reason for it to go away. Also asking about entering time. So yes, you could actually add time here. So if I wanted to do a single, if I wanted to do groupings of times, so I would be able to just switch my user up here and I would be able to enter whichever team member it was, and then I could add time for this particular team member. He's already got time for that period. Okay, let me look at some of these other questions. So when you edit the new invoice with the manage button, are you going to only affect the current invoice? So Lisa, you're asking about the invoicing that we were looking at before, the brand new invoicing. So templates are still going to exist. So if you wanted to go in and edit your master template and you want to make massive changes, then I would say go over and do it there. If you're wanting to make customization and you want to switch things up, you can go and do that to one invoice at a time, or you can make that, you can edit your default while you're in that window. But I've worked with clients that they needed to be able to have a certain invoice template styling for a particular customer, and they were able to do that with just editing one invoice at a time. So you could create a template, but you could also just edit as needed. Karen, you're asking, do you still need to export time from the classic mode? No, I could actually edit, I could actually export time from directly inside of QuickBooks. So if I needed to look at just my time and I wanted to see all my time activities, I could do that. If I wanted to, I'm not sure exactly what you're wanting to export, but I could actually, I think what I would do is I would look at my team time and I would see, where have the various different workers been active. But I think the reports are where you would want to do most of your exporting from. All right. And then Karen, yes, after it's approved, it needs to get into QBO. So it's going to be automatic because you're approving that time. And since I approved some time, if I went over and I looked at a time activity report, I would be able to see that time activity that I had approved. But you can see time activity inside of QuickBooks without processing payroll. But I do want to be specific in saying that if you are not processing time inside, or if you're not using the time to process payroll in QuickBooks, you are not going to see it for job costing. You can see these time activities that I'm pulling up, but if you're using some type of other app in order to actually process payroll, you would not be able to run a P&L, for example, that had the time included on it because you're not actually hitting a GL account. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and go over to slides because I think a lot of those I've answered as we've moved around. So these slides are just going to take you through exactly what I went through today. So you'll be able to see all of what we did, where we went to, what those reports are. And then I do want to launch. This is our last poll. So I do want to give you a chance to get in your CPE. So how familiar are you with the new QuickBooks Time capabilities? Have you been using it? Has it been something that you've wanted to look at? Are your clients using it? You're just kind of curious there. And then while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and look through some of these questions. Okay. And then Caleb, you're asking about, are bill pay users not counted towards the one user? Oh, inside of Simple Start, you are asking a specific question about Simple Start, and Simple Start only has one user. So I'm going to, in that particular unique situation, I'm going to say if you're using Elite, I would imagine you're going to get those additional roles. That Caleb, that may be something that needs to be verified by Intuit to make sure that I'm quoting that correctly. But that is my understanding, is that you're going to get these additional functionalities independently of which QuickBooks Online subscription you have chosen. Lots of great questions. I'm going to go ahead and do the countdown for this poll. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And I want to thank Murph for helping today with answering questions. You've done a brilliant job of answering so many of those. Thank you. And I'm going to go ahead and say all of these new functionalities are super fun to play with. You know, the invoicing, I got excited about it once I started diving into it. The bill pay, you know, I think that we've had several different versions of bill pay for a while, and all of us have been wanting to have something that, you know, is stable and not going away. So I do feel like we've got a great option now with QuickBooks Bill Pay. Do look out which version are you using. If you're somebody who wants to disconnect one of those apps that you're using, I recommend doing so. I've been able to remove Melio from one of my clients, and now they're using the QuickBooks Bill Pay. The others that wanted to continue using Melio, they're doing so just fine. So I want to thank everyone for today for being with us. And Gary, I'm going to pass it back over to you.
All right. Thank you, Liz. And actually, I'm going to throw up that sponsor poll one more time, just in case. If you already answered, don't worry about it. But if you change your mind and you're like, oh, you know what? I'd love to get a free lunch or at least a $50 MasterCard card, do that. Or if you'd just like some info from Avid Exchange, we will certainly forward that information over to them. So we will leave that open pretty much till we close out. So Liz, again, thank you. Appreciate it. I'm sure we'll see you running around Las Vegas in about how far is that? What are we out? 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks?
Whoa, that seems too quick.
Is that right?
Hopefully a little longer. 3 weeks, three
Yeah,
weeks
a little
maybe.
bit. All right, at least give us 2 weeks. All right. So if you're there, if you're in Vegas for QB Connect, certainly look us up, look up Liz, and we'll be running around there. Until then, thank you again. See you soon.
Bye, everyone.